Hi, boys and girls. It's Christine Wiggins from Cullman Today. And tonight I'm going to read you a book called The Ant and the Elephant. One morning, a tiny ant crawled up a tall blade of jungle grass for a view of the river. All at once, he was caught by a breeze that sent him sailing off into the swirling water. Just when it seemed he would be swept downstream and gone forever, the ant grabbed onto a snag and scrambled to safety. There the ant remained, stranded, wondering what he would do when he spied a mud turtle creeping along the riverbank. "Oh, Mr. Hardshell," called the ant in his wee small voice. "Would you be so kind as to give me a lift back to dry land? It's a nice day for a swim." The old turtle turned his head slowly. After a long look at the ant, he said, "I've had a swim for today, and besides, if I went racing about helping everyone who is in trouble, I'd have no time left to relax." Then the turtle trotted on his way to find a place where he could sun himself. When the turtle came to a flat, warm rock, he crept slowly up the edge. Suddenly, he went toppling backward and landed upside down. "Blast it all," he muttered. "Dad blame it." And he began thrashing out with his legs, desperately trying to right himself. But all the kicking could do was to send him rocking about on his shell. That was all. As he stretched his stringy neck looking about for help, the turtle spied a hornbill roosting on her nest high on a tree limb. "Oh, Mrs. Big Bill," he called, "would you mind helping me back to my feet? With one flip of your beak, I'm sure you could do it." "I could," snapped the bird, "but I won't. This will teach you not to be so clumsy." As she leaned down to say more, the hornbill tipped the nest and her one big egg rolled out to go tumbling all the way to the ground. Luckily, it landed in a clump of fluff weeds without so much as a crack. "Thank goodness," she cried when she found the egg all in one piece. Then, seizing it in her beak, she fluttered her wings as she tried to take off. But her oversized beak plus the cumbersome egg were too much of a load. Still, she kept furiously thrashing the air until her wings were worn to a frazzle. As the miserable bird sat there staring helplessly at the egg, a giraffe came striding along. "Oh, Mr. Greatneck," she called, "you've come just at the right time. If I perched on your head with the egg in my beak, you could carry us back up to my nest." "Indeed, no," scoffed the proud giraffe. "If I did such a thing, how silly would I look? I'll have no one laughing at me. No, indeed." And Mr. Greatneck went on his way with his head held high, nibbling at the treetops. He was so intent upon the tasty leaves, he didn't notice the tangle-dangle vine until it was twisted up around one leg. "Here now," snorted the giraffe with an angry kick. "How dare you?" The kick merely gave the vine an extra twist, which tightened its grip. Then, in a fury, the giraffe began kicking wildly about with all four legs. The more he kicked, the more entangled he became. Finally, his legs were so tightly tied up in the vine he couldn't budge. As he stood there in the tangle, he spied a lion heading his way. "What good luck," thought the giraffe. "With those great claws of his, he could rip this vine to shreds in one swipe." "Oh, Mr. Big Paw," called the lion. He called to the lion, "Just look at me." The lion took one look, then burst into a great roaring laugh. "Ho, ho, that is funny. Ho, 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 I see what you mean. Oh, ho, ho," he laughed merrily and went on his way through the jungle. The lion was still laughing to himself as he flopped down in a patch of shade for a bit of a cat nap. He flopped down with such a whomp to upset a huge boulder, which was all set to topple. To the lion's surprise, it rolled over and came down right upon his tail. With a furious roar, he leaped to his feet, tugging frantically to free himself. But he soon found it was useless to struggle. He could never get loose unless he was willing to part with his tail. As he sat there growling over his bad luck, a rhino came along. "Oh, Mr. Hornyhead," he called, "would you mind bumping this stupid boulder off my tail? One nudge of your great snout would do it." "I would," said the rhino, "if you could think of some way to return the favor." "Right now," sighed the lion, "all I can think of is my poor tail." "Too bad," said the rhino, and he went lumbering off through the trees. The rhino never bothered to watch where he was going. With a great horn out front, he went plowing right ahead through the brambles and bush, when all of a sudden, zoomp, he blundered head on into a stump with his great horn stuck deep into it. "Out of my way, you stupid stump," he snorted, and with a furious lunge, he tried to knock over the stump. He drove the horn still deeper. Then with a mighty tug, he tried pulling himself free, but the stump refused to let go. At last, the rhino realized he was hopelessly stuck. So the rhino, the lion, the giraffe, the hornbill, the turtle, and the ant were left in deep trouble. That would have been that if a jolly big somebody hadn't decided to take a stroll through the jungle that day. It was a huge elephant. With great spreading ears, he could hear the slightest sound, the faint rustle of a leaf, the least snap of a twig, or even the tiny voice of an ant calling. He reached his long trunk out over the river, inviting the ant to climb aboard, then carried him safely back to dry land. "How can I ever thank you enough?" cried the grateful ant. "It was no big thing," said the elephant. "But it was a big thing for me," said the ant. "It was everything." And he scurried away through the grass. "If you got time to bother with a nothing of an ant," grumbled the old turtle, "how about me?" "You are in a pickle," said the elephant, and with the tip of his trunk, he flipped the turtle back onto his feet. Then, without a word of thanks, the old codger went tottering away down the bank to disappear into the river. "If you can help an old turtle," squawked the hornbill, "the least you can do is put my lovely egg back in the nest." "The very least I can do," agreed the elephant, and holding the egg gently in his trunk, he carried it up to the nest. "It's a wonder you didn't crack it," snapped the bird as she settled back down onto the egg. "Say now," chuckled the elephant when he came up to the giraffe, "that's what I'd call a funny fix." "Not funny to me," snorted the giraffe, "not one bit funny." "Then I'll try not to laugh," said the big fellow, searching through the vine with his trunk to get the worst of the tangle. It took a few minutes to undo the dozens of knots that gripped the long legs. Once they were loose, the vine fell limply to the ground. "Well, I must say it's about time," snorted the snooty giraffe as he went galloping, clotting away. "What have we here?" said the elephant when he came to the lion. "We have a big, stupid, bumbling boulder," growled the lion, "that's what." "Then be off, stupid boulder." And the huge tusker heaved the boulder into the air with his trunk and set it tumbling. Once he was free, the lion gave his tail a few switches to make sure it was working. "Oh, what a relief," sighed the lion. "Someday when I'm in a better mood, I must remember to thank you." "No hurry," said the elephant. He continued on his way through the jungle, where he soon found the hopelessly stuck rhino. "I can pull you free," said the elephant, "if your tail can stand one mighty tug." "Right now it's my snout I'm worried about," groaned the rhino, "so jerk away." Gripping the rhino's tail tightly in his trunk, the elephant reared back, and with one almighty jerk, the rhino went sailing free of the stump to land with one big blump. "That was one whale of a jerk," muttered the rhino. "I hope you got some fun out of it." "It was a pleasure," smiled the elephant as he went merrily on his way. He was enormously pleased with himself after all the good deeds he had done that day. "Everyone has his troubles," he chuckled. "Everyone but Big Me. I'll never get into a fix where I need help. That's one thing for sure." The elephant didn't suspect there was a deep ravine just ahead. It was too well hidden by scatterflat ferns. Before he knew it, he had tumbled straight into it, landing with a 7-ton thud that shook the whole jungle. He was wedged so deep in such a position that his trunk and his legs were useless. "It serves me right," he muttered, "for feeling so almighty big and so all-powerful. Now I'm the one who needs help." "Help!" he bellowed. "Help! Help!" Then he waited anxiously for a reply. He waited for hours, staring up at the sky until it faded into evening and a deep stillness settled over the jungle. It was so quiet his great spreading ears caught the sound of footsteps, tiny, tiny footsteps from somewhere above. "Who's there?" asked the elephant. "It's me," said a wee small voice. "The ant you rescued this morning and all my ant friends. 95,000 of them." "I know ants are amazingly strong," said the elephant, "but surely you don't expect to lift me out of here." "We can try," said the ant. "Come on, my friends, let's go to work." Suddenly, down the steep wall of the ravine came a teeming horde of ants swarming under the elephant. Then all together, they began chanting, "Heave ho, up you go, up you go." And to the elephant's amazement, he felt himself moving upward. Slowly but surely, just an inch at a time, the tireless ants hoisted their huge burden up the wall. "Heave ho, up you go. Don't lose your grip, don't anyone trip." And at last, under a bright full moon, they set the elephant down in the scatterflat ferns. "That was tremendous," cried the elephant. "I can't believe it." "It was nothing," replied the 95,000 ants. "Nothing for you," said the elephant, "but a mighty big thing for me. Now, if you'll climb aboard, I'll give you a ride back to your ant hill." "I'm not a bit tired," said one ant, "but I would like a ride. I've never ridden on an elephant." "Neither have I," cried all the others, and they swarmed up the elephant's legs onto his back. Then away they went, harumpity-bumpity, clumpity-hump, the mighty big and the mighty small, off through the jungle together. Good night, boys and girls.